Hello everybody, my name is Kat Bowser. I'm your resident fantasy therapist, and welcome to my channel. Those of you who are brand new, welcome. Those of you who are returning, welcome back. For those of you who are new, my name is Kat Bowser. I'm a licensed therapist, but I am also an author working on my first novel. And on my channel, I like to dig into what I consider to be the heart of all writing, which is the characters. The heart of the characters is in their psychology. So that is the angle we take with everything on my channel. We look at it from a psychological angle, because I feel that really helps to make a more well-rounded world. Okay, so what topic are we tackling today? I wanted to talk about the slow burn and how we need more of them. Slow burn is essentially a plot that takes a while to get going. It can be used to apply to a relationship, it can be used to apply to the plot in general. In this case, I'm talking more about generally a plot in general, slow burn. And lately, it seems that there is a real push to have the plot really take off right away. And while I understand that you definitely need to catch the reader's attention, I think we lose something when we just automatically jump into the action. I've been seeing that a lot in fantasy, sci-fi, action books, where you just jump right into the action. And the big problem with this for me is if we're jumping into the action before I've had a chance to get to know the characters, I really don't care what happens to them. And I know that's not what the writer wants. Um, Now, this is a tricky thing to maneuver because, like I said, you want to have the reader's interest and their attention. But I think you also need this period of time to really kind of let them know what your character is about, what their morals are, what their beliefs are, what their goals are. Because then when you get to the action, it's going to have much more of an impact. I've read quite a few books lately where they try to do the character development or introduction while the action is happening. And while I won't say it it doesn't work as well as it could. I think we have kind of developed this sense of honestly immediate gratification. I know this is going to be a fantasy. I know there's going to be dragons, there's going to be monsters. Let's get right to it. Well, let's slow down there. Let's pump the brakes a minute and let me know why I care about this world. Why do I care that there's potentially a monster running around that's going to eat people? Why do I care that suddenly this dragon has appeared out of nowhere? I think that's really what it boils down to is I don't have time to develop empathy for the characters when we jump right into the action. Now, like I said, you still need to keep my interest, but there's ways to do that through character building. I'm not talking about necessarily you have to write the characters doing their everyday mundane things. I'm not saying that. But there are ways to weave in character work through the plot. So let's take the idea that you have a monster that is running loose and is a threat to said kingdom. Okay, so first off, the first thing that goes to my head is, okay, why is the monster here now? Is it definitely a threat to everybody, or is there someone out there that can actually defend themselves fairly well against said monster? Are there certain areas where said monster will not go? These are all little questions that I think you can explore through your main character. One of my favorite things to do is with some of my main characters is to have them kind of shoot the breeze a little bit, and you can weave in a lot of world building just in them talking normally about their fears, their thoughts, their goals, that kind of thing. Um, for instance, I have my two main characters. well, one of my main characters and a strong secondary character. I think he might be muscling his way into a main character though. Annie and Tony talking about some of Anie's fears, and one of his main fears is that he's going to be exiled to what they call the White Isle. And I used them talking about this fear to talk about not only what Anie thinks will happen if that happens, but also why he thinks that. And it's delivered through, well, there's no one like me that's grown up. There's no one like me that has children. And then you have Tony's ideas of, well, here's why, and here's what I think's really going to happen. Here's why you don't have to worry about it. And just little dialogues that they exchange back and forth that tell you a little bit about the world, but also build a little bit of tension. And it lets you know, okay, here's why Anie's uncertain. Here's why he's always trying to be a people pleaser. Here's why Tony is so protective of him. There you go, all in about 2 or 3 scenes. And I just want more of that in more stories. Because most of the time I see those little moments after the action has started. And while I'm not saying they shouldn't be there, there should be more of that before the action starts. And again, I know this is like, well, this is a hard balancing act. Yeah, it is a hard balancing act. I'm not going to pretend it's not. Um, but I do think it serves your story better if you can kind of pace it a little slower than what I've been seeing lately. Um, Now, obviously, you can go the other extreme and pace it too slow. Much as I love Tolkien, the beginning of Fellowship is a slog. It is hard. It is hard to get through. You're getting a lot of good information, but it's hard to get through because it drags out a little too long. Um, so, I mean, do I have any set time period that I think a slow burn should take? No, not really, because it really depends on the story. Um, if you're writing just a single one shot story, then I think you have a little more leeway to move a little bit faster. If you're doing a series or a trilogy, I almost think it should be paced a little slower because you're going to be telling this story over multiple books. And if you're going to be doing that, I expect to see more world building. I expect to see more character development. And to do that, I got to be introduced to them first. One thing that I think works really well and is really simple to incorporate, have your characters move around. I see so many where they just stay in the same spot. Um, and while I think that makes sense somewhat for certain plots, you could really introduce your world and introduce the conflict and potential tension just by moving them around. Have them go to the market, have them go to their said friend that lives 2 hills over, have them go outside to go gather apples from the harvest. I don't know, just have them go somewhere. um, because it lets you answer a lot more questions about the world without directly having to throw a bunch of info in someone's lap. Because nobody likes an info dump, and that's not what I'm asking people to do here, but I'm asking them to weave in just a little more of a slow pace. Let's let's take a little bit longer to start getting into the action. But that doesn't mean that we're going to be bored. I mean, that's why I put so much emphasis on the characters being interesting. Because if your character's interesting, I really don't care what they're doing, I'm going to be entertained. If they're well developed characters, I will be entertained. So for me, this is just something that I think we need to do a little more. And like I said, it's definitely because our culture has definitely become more of a, now, 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 give it to me now, now, now. Um, and the best way to counteract that is to weave in a little bit more of this. Okay, you're gonna have to hang in a little bit more for the action, but because I'm showing you all this stuff now, it's gonna make more sense. It's gonna be more potent when I get there. And I think that's always worth the journey for me. I would much rather take more time to get to know the characters and get to know really what they have at stake before I am introduced to said stakes. Again, this is just me. I recognize that there are some people who say, "Oh, this is horrible advice." Um, but for me, I think it develops a more realistic world. I think it makes your characters more well rounded because you have more time to spend with them. Um, and so for me, I just really am asking people, let's just slow down a little bit. I'm not asking you to, wait till chapter 15 to introduce us to the conflict. I'm not asking that. But I am asking, can we take a chapter or maybe a couple of chapters so I can just know these characters enough to give a damn what happens to them? All right, guys, so that is probably a controversial opinion, but just something I wanted to talk about a little bit. I would gladly welcome any thoughts that you guys have. Please leave them below. Or if you have suggestions, as always, feel free to leave them below. You can also follow me on social media. And until next time, I hope you guys have a good one.